What's your favorite poverty meal that you still eat regardless of where you are financially? Grew up poor, but my mom sure knew how to stretch a dollar. She would make steak fingers out of the cheapest cuts she could find. Tenderize, fry them up, make gravy out of the drippings and serve with mashed potatoes. The whole meal probably cost less than $5.70, and I'm telling you, nothing tasted better. I made it for my kids when they were growing up and they still ask me for it sometimes. She would be 94 today. Love you, miss you, Mom. I'm Mexican. For us, it's usually quesadillas without meat, rice and black beans as the sides. For us it's usually chilaquiles. Boiled potatoes and butter. Don't care if I am rich or poor, that is my go-to snack. DAL. Aside from turmeric, you can buy all the ingredients for less than $2 a pound. Oh yeah, DAL is magic. Lentils in general deserve more love. They are so good for you, and are delicious. They make a great meat substitute if you're broke or just want to go meatless. Ghetto Mac, where make some pasta and add in whatever you can find in the fridge or cabinets. Cheese, lunch meat, spam, spices, etc. No two meals were ever the same. All this time I didn't even know it had a name. We would just do this to try to make a meal. We used to eat squash and eggs growing up. Grew the squash and eggs are cheap enough. Or trade with the neighbors. You just cut the squash into thin round and cook in a pan with a little oil until they're just soft. Scramble the eggs with the squash. Add a bunch of pepper, some salt. Sometimes we ate it over noodles or rice. Oven-baked potatoes with salt and margarine. Cheap ingredients found in almost every home and easy to make. Also, the starch in potatoes makes you feel full for pretty long. Sprinkle over a decent layer of Lorry's seasoned salt to really make the taters tasty. Soup boiled down with rice to bulk it up. This is a good one, almost like a porridge or congee. When I'm sick I boil rice and chicken stock and just eat it that way. No soy sauce or anything else, so it's easy on my stomach. It's a really comforting thing to eat. I always make long grain parboiled rice that way. So much tastier. My mom taught me to do that. Kind of like a cheap risotto, but more cooked. When I was at uni I lived off it with chopped hot dogs stirred into it. Surprised I didn't get scurvy now I think about it. All the limes in your drinks took care of that. Peanut butter sandwich. Nothing beats a good old-fashioned PB&J. Hold the J. This guy nut butters. Steamed white rice. Crack a raw egg in it while it's scorching hot. Stir aggressively and dash with soy sauce. If I have some roasted seaweed in the cheese. Super cheap breakfast, but oh man is it filling. Delicious. This has become one of my go-tos. Maybe a bit of fried garlic or sesame seeds. Some chopped spring onions or chives. Basically whatever's in the fridge. Stew. There could be anything in there, but it's still delicious. My grandma, who grew up during World War II, taught me that you can make soup from almost anything. At least once a week I just throw a bunch of scrap veggies, leftover meat, rice and whatever other random bits are left over from the week's meals into a pot with some stock. Boil it all together and bam. We save the bones from every meal that had animal protein in it. Then boil them to make bone broth. Super filling and nutritious. Then weaken the broth. BC it keeps forever. If you're too lazy to cook you just dump a jar of broth, cup and a half of rice, bag or two of frozen veggies into a crock pot and walk away. Soup in 2 hours. Beans and rice. I remember a big pot of beans living in the fridge. Hungry? Get some beans. Don't like what was for dinner? Get some beans. Upset stomach? Beans. That was 100% my grandmother growing up. Anytime you said you were hungry, beans. If you were lucky there were cold biscuits left from breakfast, too. I prefer rice and beans, but I get it. Grilled cheese sandwich. Grilled cheese is great pretending to be bougie food too. My brother and I used to go to the store together and splurge on fancy-ish cheese. That is still the pre-cut stuff in plastic in the dairy section, not the high-end stuff in the deli section or the fancy cheese cooler. And see who could come up with the best combination of cheeses and bread from the bakery section. I think we settled on sourdough, smoked Gouda, Havarti, and cream cheese. A fancy corporate event I went to had them displayed as crostini du fromage. That doesn't even make sense. It should be crostini au fromage. Butter noodles. Yes, and if you were lucky to have Parmesan garlic, then you're eating good. Add black pepper and you've got cacio e pepe. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Came here for this, but I prefer my butter noodles hot. Hot, hot, hot. Ramen. Toast, If you have butter or something to slap on top, even better, but a few pieces of toast usually satisfies my hunger for a decent amount of time. I'm the opposite. Toast always makes me hungrier. Yeah, I feel like whenever I eat toast I get this ravenous hunger for more. For me it depends on the bread. White bread toast makes me hungry, and I'm not a big fan. A good whole grain wheat with seeds and whatnot, that hits the spot. Fried eggs with fried potatoes. This is not poverty meal. This is a gold meal in Romania. The only meal Romanian dads knew how to cook when mom was away. Ukrainian too. My old man can't cook for it, but I loved every time he made that. Peanut butter and sliced banana on toast. Now that I'm better off financially, I'll add real honey and ground cinnamon, because I'm a fancy itch now. Bougie as frick. I still regularly eat my struggle nachos, tortilla chips with slices of American cheese on top and microwaved. Now that I can afford it, I'll throw taco meat on top every now and again, but still very much enjoy just the chips and cheese. If you're really feeling like a big shot, use some chorizo instead of regular taco meat. That it is the bomb. Pancakes, cheap to make and filling, can be eaten with whatever is in your fridge. Whatever is in your fridge. Pancakes and beef fat plus olives. Make the pancakes with a little cornmeal, less sugar, and a bigger pinch of salt, and that meal really doesn't sound half bad. Quesadillas, with hot sauce if there is any. Poverty meal? That's dinner where I come from. Wait, I felt this in my bones. Just heating up the comal right now to make a quesadilla for lunch. Cinnamon sugar toast. My son once called this poor man's churros. The name has stuck in our household. My 4-year-old and I eat this for breakfast on the weekends. She calls it toast with sprinkles. Edited to add, thanks for my first ever award. Best cure for a sweet tooth. Reminds me of how my dad and I would hollow out strawberries and fill them with sugar when I was little. We called them sugar bombs. My dad would do this by rolling and pressing an Avel orange on the counter, cutting a square hole in the center, and stuffing 2-3 sugar cubes in. Then we would squeeze it dry. Fresh squeezed orange juice. Came for my broke-ass recipe planner. Thumbs up. Same. Okay, here are a few. Cut a circular hole in a piece of white bread. Put a little butter on both sides and drop it in a pan with an egg in the middle. Any canned soup becomes a heartier meal with some rice in it. Pasta is really good if you cook it up with a can of cream of mushroom soup and a can of tuna. Basically anything with rice, egg, bread, canned veggies, and even canned soups is cheap and filling as frick. For less than $5 you can have like a 4-day container of stew with rice, some kind of soup flavoring, a veggie added, an egg. It's somewhat nutritious and can taste decent. If you want to splurge an extra $1, buy a soup like Amy's. They have a lot of veggie and lentil soups that at least feel less processed than some of the other brands, and you can stretch that out for a while. Also, canned potatoes are less than $2 and they go a long way to make a meal heartier. If you want to go super cheap and put in the effort, a sack of potatoes is super versatile and can be the foundation for several meals. Toast with a fried egg for breakfast. Been eating that for probably 6 years now and still look forward to it every morning. Hello fellow egg and toast lover. Life feels incomplete without and nothing can replace it. Breakfast just doesn't feel like breakfast without fried eggs on toast. So good. My nan used to make me what she called egg in the bread. You take a slice of bread and butter it, then use a glass tumbler to cut the center out. Put in the pan butter side down, then crack your egg in the middle. Before you flip out a pat of butter in the pan and then fry the other side. It's really tasty. Also, you cannot be wasteful and fry the cutout center too. Fried bread is fancy man toast. Thing called gup. It's something my father came up with when he was super cool after leaving the army in the 80s when the economy was fricked, and it's now like a staple in our family. It's like a stroganoff or something, I guess. The recipe is 1 can of cheap cream of mushroom soup, one of those 80-cent things of sour cream, the empty soup can full of milk, a dash of $1 steak sauce, seasoning and cheap ground beef over noodles. Costs just a couple bucks to make and feeds an entire family of 4. Yeah, that would pretty much get you a Pullman stroganoff that tastes just as good as the real thing. A gas station slushie mixed with gas station wine. Pullman's daiquiri. That sounds more like Pullman's Gastro Drano. Fried egg with rice. Good for breakfast, lunch or dinner. Also brunch, lunner and dinkfast. Also second breakfast, lunch, second lunch, and first dinner. What about elevancies? Cinnamon toast. Just bread, butter, cinnamon and sugar mixed together. Also, I love ramen. I love cinnamon toast, but I butter it, sprinkle generously with cinnamon and sugar, then stick it under the broiler till it forms a melted crust on top. Sleep. This is my favorite stress and depression food. Love it so much I have it every night. I hated those days when I was hungry and the only way to relieve the hunger was to force myself to sleep. Yeah bruh, my childhood had days like this. I'd wake up hearing my mom crying in her room because I was hungry and had to go to bed early since we had no food. Life is tough sometimes. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please smash the like button and leave a comment which story you liked the most. Subscribe and hit the bell notification for updates on our latest videos. And don't forget to check the links in the description box for more awesome content.